Welcome back to MMA Surge, guys. We just got done watching UFC 153, a battle between Jon Jones and Vitor Belfort for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. This was a battle between the youngest UFC champion in UFC history and the former UFC's youngest fighter, Vitor Belfort. In this fight, Vitor Belfort came up from 185 to fight Jon Jones when no one else would fight him. Vitor almost submitted Jon Jones and became the closest fighter to beating him with an armbar, but Jon was able to turn things around and win with a 4th round submission by Americana. So I'm going to show you guys a few key moments in the fight and show you how Vitor almost won and show you exactly how Jon was able to submit Vitor. So in the first round, Jon came out in his normal fashion, down like a Panther style stance, and was able to secure a quick takedown within 30 seconds, had Vitor on his back in guard. Usually when Jon's in his guard, he's looking to land elbows, cut someone, pass the guard, try to land some sort of submission, finish a fight. But Vitor was able to get himself an arm, work himself an arm bar, and probably becoming the closest person to ever beating Jon Jones. Usually what Jon does is, Jon will either put 2 hands around the guy's neck or 2 hands on the guy's arms. Right here, Jon pretty much lost symmetry. What that means is, Jon is holding the head and an arm. When Jon had the hand on the head and he switched one to the arm, Vitor saw a perfect opportunity to go for the leg and go for an arm bar. So Vitor has the arm, reaches between the legs. He's gonna take his left foot, put it over Jon's head, and get an arm bar. So here you see Jon's pretty much caught in the arm bar. When Vitor threw the leg up over his head, he was able to block Jon's arm inside. The way you usually defend an arm bar is you lock your hands together. So Jon's hand is here, but his other hand is blocked by this leg, leaving him with a little more time for Vitor to get the submission, putting Jon in a ton of danger. Jon's fully caught in this arm bar. Now he gets his hands together and starts to defend, but this arm bar is already locked out and straight. So you can clearly see right here, Jon's caught in this submission. What he does is something I like to call the Rampage Jackson. When you're caught in an arm bar, you pick the guy up and you slam your way out of it, buy yourself a little more time, possibly knock the guy out. Jon slammed his way almost out of the submission, but Vitor was still able to keep himself extended. Any of you guys just learned jiu-jitsu, you want to keep your body fully extended when you're doing this arm bar. If you see, Jon's arm is still fully extended in a lot of pain, but his hands are together, and what he's doing, he's starting to open up Vitor's legs. The legs is what makes the submission, so if Jon breaks the legs, Jon can get out of the submission. So here, Jon's able to start getting some height and puts Vitor in a pretty awkward position here, starting to get himself out of it. He takes his left arm, works it back inside here, and gets himself out of the submission, back into guard, and starts to work his damage. And from that point on, there was no turning back for Jon. So when Jon got out of this armbar, he immediately went back to his signature move, the elbow. I consider this point in the fight the point where Jon mentally and physically won the fight. Vitor almost beat the UFC champion, and then Jon gets out and lands an elbow that cuts Vitor wide open. Pretty demoralizing if you think about it. So this is the point of the fight where you see Vitor brutally beaten right here. Probably realizes that going up a weight class from 85 to 205 probably wasn't the best idea when you're fighting a guy that's probably 230 pounds by the time he gets into the ring. So in the second round, Jon started using something he's used in his last few fights, which are these low knee kicks he likes to do. He likes to do these front leg knee kicks. What makes them really effective is Jon will maintain eye contact with you, but aim a strike low. He's so dynamic that he can keep eyesight with you and aim something low and just have you guessing the whole fight. He kept doing this and was able to break him down, able to start landing different shots just because Vitor was worrying about his leg. And the great thing about this is Jon's fighting a really powerful striker. If you could take out the guy's legs, you can take away a lot of the guy's power. So Jon is not just doing this to land damage, he's doing this to take away any power Vitor has with his hands. So in round 3, Jon continually kept picking apart Vitor, throwing a lot of these knee strikes. Once you start thinking about these knee strikes, he starts changing the levels. He starts throwing them to the body. He was able to land a really strong liver shot with his front leg. And the great thing about Jon doing this, notice the distance between the two of them. There's almost 5 feet between them. And also, Vitor's got to know that Jon is the type of person, if you come forward at him, you have to worry about some sort of spinning back elbow, spinning back strike. Gives Jon really big advantages having all this height and reach. So Jon didn't have to resort to any sort of spinning back elbows. He was able to land this liver kick. He landed it so hard that Vitor actually went down, But Vitor is a smart fighter. Vitor realizes that there's maybe 10 seconds left in the round, and he finds a lot more safety on the ground than standing with this guy right here, Jon Jones. So now we're into the 4th round. Jon comes out, takes Vitor down, ends up in side control. What Jon does really good is he's able to do something I like to call the Matt Hughes position, where he gets off the side control, controls one arm, and puts his leg over it, isolating one arm and able to focus on everything else right here. If you see here, Jon's able to isolate this arm away with his leg. It's something called the Matt Hughes position. Once he's here, he's able to do something called the Americana. It's one of the more basic moves you do in jiu-jitsu. What makes it really effective is Jon has Vitor's arm locked away here, giving him a chance to isolate this arm and possibly break this arm. So he finishes off this Americana by rolling Vitor's hand back in this direction. If you see the amount of pain he's causing on Vitor's face, this move really hurts. If you land this right, you'll submit anyone. So at UFC 152, we saw Jon Jones come closest to losing than we've ever seen before. And Vitor shouldn't hang his head for coming up one weight class and almost submitting the champion. That's a pretty good effort. So this is the 4th time Jon Jones has defended his title at light heavyweight. The record is 5, held by Tito Ortiz. I think he's well on his way to achieve that and possibly become one of the best fighters we've ever seen. Thanks for watching our recap of UFC 152. I enjoyed the fights and I'm sure you did. So be sure to stay tuned for more tutorials and more fight breakdowns, and I'll see you next time on MMA Surge.